Hello and welcome to live Irish Premiership football on this Tuesday night from Taylor's Avenue. The champions Linfield taking on Carrick Rangers, one of three fixtures this evening. Larne against Glentoran, Ballymena United taking on Cliftonville in the other games. But our feature match is in Carrick. Linfield, with ground to make up, they have the second worst away record in the league, but take on a Carrick side with the worst home record themselves. They've really struggled at home. It's a tough run of results for Stephen Baxter's side, despite that weekend victory in the Irish Cup. And let's look at the two starting lineups. After that win, it's unsurprising that Stephen Baxter has gone for the same Carrick Rangers lineup that convincingly won 5-1 against Queen's University in the Cup. Billy Joe Burns won 3 titles during his time at Windsor Park. He's one of a number of experienced players in the home side lineup, with McCullough, Snoddy, Heatley, Gibson and Leckie all 30 plus. And two changes from the weekend. Cup win over Bangor for David Healy. Sean Brown and Charlie Allen are replaced by Ben Hall and Jamie Mulgrew, the captain. Isaacs Bird scored the winner in that game. Matthew Fitzpatrick has the most goals, assists and minutes for Linfield this season. Tim Marshall is the match referee for this one. Paul Lehman's alongside me on co-commentary, and you feel it could be a big week for the league overall.
Yeah, I think so, Thomas. Obviously there's a massive game at the Oval tonight, Glentoran versus Larne. Larne sort of getting a bit of distance between themselves and the other teams, and Glentoran will be looking to really sort of get the title race wide open again with a victory there at the Oval. And then Linfield tonight, you know, you spoke about their away record. They really need to pick up a victory here tonight, you know, to try and get themselves some way back into the title race.
They've dropped 20 of 30 potential points away from home, which is very un-Linfield.
It really is. It's so unlike them, and you know, even they lost 3 games in a row in December. It's so unlike Linfield and David Healy. I've seen some of his interviews recently. He's cutting a frustrated figure, and he knows that this team should be doing better than what they've been doing. And you know, tonight's another opportunity for them to do that. But you know, it's a difficult venue, Taylor's Avenue. Carrick have been poor at home. Their last league, game here, they lost 7-0 to Glentoran. So you know, Stephen Baxter's looking for a response from his team as well in the league campaign. And
they will have got a lot of confidence from that weekend victory in the Cup.
Yeah, you know, sometimes the Cup is a welcome distraction from the league, and you know, Carrick were able to get that victory, get a few goals against Queens, which will boost their confidence. Linfield had a 1-0 victory against Bangor, and you know, albeit an unconvincing performance. So as I say, David Healy, he'll want to see a response from these players here tonight.
Yes, you have to go all the way back to Halloween night for Carrick Rangers' last league win. Stephen Baxter will be hoping that that long run ends this evening. Linfield with an early attack down the right-hand side. Bird, who scored the winner on Saturday, forces the corner kick over in the far side. And this will be an early test for that Carrick Rangers backline. Mentioned the experience when you look at Billy Joe Burns and Luke McCullough in the middle. You've got Buchanan Rollison, better known as BBR, and on the right hand side it's Mikey Place, who of course had a spell at Ballymena United. Here's McCullough's ball in, tester for Pengelly, flicked away by Heatley. Lifted back in again by McLean. Hall stayed up, and over the top from Fitzpatrick. A real statement of intent early on from the visitors. Yeah,
Linfield just putting balls in on top of the Carrick back line early on. It was a good delivery into the box from the corner. Goalkeeper Pengelly does well. The ball comes back out. McLean puts a dangerous ball in. Luke McCullough only half clears it, and Fitzpatrick's alive, and he's looking to get the shot on target. He just can't keep it down.
Linfield sitting 4th in the table. Carrick Rangers second from bottom in 11th. Linfield going in tonight's games 14 points off top spot with a game in hand. 5 behind Glentoran, 7 behind Coleraine in second, but Rory Higgins' side have played 3 additional matches. And we mentioned 3 defeats in a row for Linfield, but when you look at the table, it's all to play for in that bunch in behind Larne. Everyone's, I'm sure, hoping that Gary Haver's side slip up, but underneath them it's very tight.
It is, and you know, looking at Larne at this moment in time, you know, if Larne were to get a victory at the Oval tonight, it would be a big statement and it would put them clear, and then you're looking at the other 3 teams below them, and they're going to be fighting out really for that second position. You know, given the consistency that Larne has shown, and they're so solid at the back that, you know, they don't give a lot away. So, you know, yeah, tonight's a big night for them and for Glentoran, and you know, also for Linfield, if they have any hopes of, you know, getting back into the race even for second place.
Well, they threaten with their first ball into the box. It's McLean who's going to take this one. No, go short this time. McCullough. I was about to say how good his delivery was for Isaac Bird's winner on Saturday, but then he produced that.
Yeah, it's a bit of a wasted opportunity there for Linfield. They're looking to just, you know, create a little 2v1 on the left-hand side there. It doesn't come off for them, and it's a really poor ball from McCullough in the end. I think it would have been better just for Kyle McLean just to look to put that one in the inner area from that sort of angle.
Just because they appeared and shot a moment ago, the 2 number 22s. I hadn't worked this out before the game, but Paul Heatley and Jamie Mulgrew, 38 and 39. I think between them it's 1,427 appearances. Plenty of goals as well. The majority have fallen to Paul Heatley, of course. He's at 262. Mulgrew has 51, but that's astonishing.
Yeah, 2 unbelievable servants. You know, I had the pleasure of playing with Paul Heatley at Crusaders for 3 years, and you know, 38 years, he just looks the same. He's the same shape. He's, you know, he's as fit and as quick as he ever was. He's still scoring goals, and what more can you say about, you know, Jamie Mulgrew? What a servant he's been, not just to Linfield, but to this league. You know, he's a true legend of the league, and you know, for those boys to keep going at this level at the age that they're at, they just deserve so much credit. And you know, they just have an unbelievable appetite for the game and a desire to keep playing and to do well.
Heatley, joint top scorer this season, with 6 for Carrick Rangers. But it's a Carrick Rangers side. We referred to the record, but I've only managed 10 goals at home in the league this season, and that's been the real trouble for Stephen Baxter's side. You look at the likes of Leckie, Danny Gibson, Ryan Wade, and Paul Heatley. You would have hoped for more firepower up front.
Yeah, they certainly have. You know, you mentioned those 3 there. They're certainly 3 players that have scored goals over their whole careers, but it's been a real problem for them this season, and I'm sure it's something Stephen Baxter will be hoping, you know, in the remainder of this season, that those guys can start firing.
Haven't really managed to force the ball forward for that Linfield backline to deal with. Chris Johns made his 450th appearance in the local game on Saturday in that win against Bangor. Made a big stop in the second half when Ben Arthurs was through. Closed down the informed strikers. Joe Crow comes on to it. Joshua Archer. Now it's McCullough plays it round the corner. And I think that's going to result in a throw-in for the home side. Mikey Place is going to take it. New addition to the Carrick squad. You can see some of the injured Linfield players just in that shot. The likes of Chris Shields, Cammy Ballantyne, Kieran Offord, amongst others. It's a lengthy injury list. A lot of clubs are struggling this time of the season.
I think Chris Shields has been obviously a key loss for Linfield this season. He's such an influential player for them, and you know, a leader. He's a real leader and for Linfield, and you know, obviously the loss of Joel Cooper was well documented, and you know, he's moved on to Coleraine, but you know, Linfield haven't really replaced the Cooper goals and that sort of figure that Shields is a key loss for them. But you know, they've got so much quality throughout the squad still, you know, and sure, certainly that's why David Healy is frustrated, because he expects a lot more from these players given the quality that they possess.
He demands more.
Yeah, I think so. The demands are always there at Linfield, and you know, he said it himself that they've underperformed and underachieved so far, so the next game's always an opportunity to do better.
Not the first time that Healy and Baxter have locked horns down through the years. Stephen Baxter, 3 titles, so many trophies, 60 now. That's the 60th game in charge of Carrick Rangers tonight. Billy Joe Burns forced it forward, looking for Heatley. Not the first time we've said that down through the years. Here's McCullough. Spent every single minute of the league campaign so far this season for Carrick Rangers. Archer to McGee, shifting on that right-hand side, having played a more central role at the weekend. Crow wins the first challenge. Second one is adjudged to have been fair by the referee. Got a couple of tackles go there. Here's Fitzpatrick. Bit of a chaotic couple of minutes of the game. Heatley tried to disguise the pass and played short to Staley, who wasn't quite in the same wavelength. Baird's continued his run. Ricochets back though to McGee, patient from Linfield. Almost 10 minutes played here. There haven't been any goal-scoring opportunities so far. The chance just over the top from Fitzpatrick, the only sight on goal from either side. Game being played at a good pace though. McGee tries to lift it in behind the Carrick Rangers backline. Adam Leckie was very influential in that confidence-boosting win over Queen's University.
Yeah, I think Adam Leckie's a real focal point for Carrick Rangers. They'll be looking, they see them just sitting deep, and they're happy for Linfield to have the ball at the back here. But certainly when Carrick do get a hold of the ball, they'll be looking for Adam Leckie, and they'll be looking for him to hold the ball up and bring people into play around him, the likes of Heatley and Gibson.
Yates invites a challenge, wins a free kick. Place going to ground, and that's going to be a set piece in a decent position. Had a couple of nibbles here, Mikey Place. There's the...
Yeah, I thought he's never going to win that ball. He's just got to look at the situation and say, I'm not going to win that, and just stay on his feet.
As a former defender, is that the kind of tackle that frustrates you?
Yeah, I think, he's got to see where he's at there and where he's at on the pitch, and he's got to see where the ball is, where the player is, and for me, he's never going to win that challenge. He's just got to hold his ground and jockey for position. He's now giving away a free kick in a really dangerous position now for Linfield.
McLean stands over, a little bit of pushing and shoving in the middle. 2 in the wall for Carrick Rangers, lifted over both of them towards that back post area. And it was Ewan East who got a touch on it before it skidded off the head of the defender.
I think it's Billy Joe Burns just gets an important touch there on it. Dangerous ball in from McLean. We'll see it here. Yeah, it's an important touch. As his arm goes up in the air there, I heard a few calls for handball, but no, it definitely came off his head. Good defending from BJ Burns.
Plenty of movement again. Another dangerous delivery. It's Leckie who gets his head on, fired goalwards. I think it was by Fitzpatrick. It ended up bouncing off the turf in the 6-yard box and into the hands of Scott Pengelly.
Yeah, Pengelly's had a few good touches early on in this game, but Carrick are probably giving away too many set pieces for their liking, for their own liking, given the delivery that certainly McLean has shown so far. He's putting the ball into good areas, dangerous areas, and it's putting Carrick on the back foot.
Nathan Gart's had out for the last couple of games for Carrick Rangers. That's why Pengelly's forced his way into the lineup tonight, just his 8th appearance.
And certainly in our Linfield will be looking at a young, inexperienced goalkeeper, and as I say, they lost 7 goals in their last game here at home, and they'll be looking to put him under pressure early on. But he's done well. He's coped well so far with those few deliveries into the box.
Billy Joe Burns unable to avoid conceding the corner kick. Another tester for that Carrick Rangers backline. I think it's East right on top of the goalkeeper. And again, it's Lecky with his big frame who gets his head on it. Here's Heatley. Plenty of space up ahead of him. Good ball to pick out a teammate. First time delivery. Gibson was in the middle, and it's the best attack certainly from a Carrick Rangers point of view. Here's Place. I think it was Snoddy with the cross. Gibson had made a good run, and well, it's a warning for Linfield, given that they were pushing and pushing for the opener before that Carrick Rangers break, taken down by Gibson. Ball still not away. Eventually cleared as far as Mulgrew. Joe Crow thought he'd won it back, but the free kick is given further up the pitch for the challenge on Jamie Mulgrew.
Yeah, it was a really good break from Carrick, wasn't it? From the initial Linfield set piece, and Lecky cleared the ball really well. Paul Heatley breaks away, and you know, it was I actually think it was Fitzpatrick who tracked the whole way back and made the clearance. I don't know if we can see it in the replay. I could be wrong, but something tells me it was Fitzpatrick the whole way back from that counter attack. So credit to him as a striker.
Well, we've already spoken about Paul Heatley, but it was trademark Heatley, if you like, in the counter attack, the way he picked that ball up and was running at the retreating Linfield backline. Chris Johns, 14 clean sheets in his 30 appearances so far this season, very much back to being the number one. The header back was a little bit loose from the head of Joe Crow, but ended up in the hands of Pengelly nevertheless. Lecky does well to flick it into the path of Aidan Steele. Back with Crow, who did have a short spell at Linfield. Another decent delivery from the left-hand side, Buchanan Rollison.
You see there from the first bit of play there, the ball goes up to Adam Lecky, just what we're talking about. And it's so important that he gets first contact and he can bring the ball in, either under control to bring people into play or win the flick. And we've seen there he just won the little flick, and that allowed Carrick to get further up the pitch and just put Linfield under a little bit of pressure.
That's good pressure from Steele as well.
Yeah, I'm hearing good things about Steele signing from Ards, wasn't it, last season, saying he's been having a decent season for Carrick.
He burst on the scene as a teenager. I think it was Watford that he went to initially, and then he was signed by Crystal Palace. A lot of people were talking about him, and I think he had a spell back at Crusaders, very short spell at Crusaders before making the switch to Larne, and they had the cup, Ards, and he had that
yeah,
cup run, of course, last season, and a lot of clubs were eyeing his signature. He decided that the Carrick Rangers was the place to go, but still very young, Aidan Steele, playing a central role now under Stephen Baxter. Just 23, 4 goals this season in his 26 games, picked up by Heatley. Gibson made a run towards the near post. Steele also was helping out. It's a vital touch from Billy Joe Burns to win it back, and now it's Place. Stephen Baxter will be happy with the way his players have responded to that early pressure from Linfield. Will probably feel he should have had a free kick there. Aidan Steele certainly does.
Yeah, Tuan Easters just looks as if there's a little nudge on Steele. Yeah, he's adamant. Looks like there's a nudge, and the assistant hasn't seen it. He's 5 yards away. We'll be disappointed with that.
I think there are probably some Linfield supporters who are giving their opinion as well.
Yeah, but you're right, Thomas. The last 5 minutes or so has been better from Carrick. As I mentioned, that the big man, Big Lecky, you know, he's had 2 or 3 really good pieces of play, important touches, which has allowed Carrick to get on the ball better. Right on cue. Lecky's involved. You know, starting to see a lot more of the ball. Nice little passage of play from Carrick, getting themselves further up the pitch.
Is that just confidence?
Yeah, I think, you know, that the last 5 minutes they've really come into their own in that sense, and you know they've managed to get their foot in the ball, pick out a few passes, and you know I think they'll realise. I mentioned Adam Lecky, he's so important for them, you know, to bring the likes of Heatley and Gibson and Steele into play, and you know they can try and hurt Linfield in the final third.
The last home win was 3 months ago. 1 point from their last 6 matches at Taylor's Avenue. It's been a real struggle before the 5 they managed in the cup. And it was a really good start to the season as well, when you take into account that they won their first 3 games, were unbeaten in their first 4.
Yeah, and you would think, you know, no disrespect to Taylor's Avenue, but they should be trying to make that a fortress, because it's a difficult pitch to go and play on, certainly at this time of year as well. The pitch can be heavy. We know about the slope on the pitch, and it doesn't always suit those teams that like to get it down and play. So Carrick have got to try and use that to their advantage, you know, play that more direct style, as we mentioned, to Adam Lecky, and you know, try and, you know, play to their strengths.
Headed away by Mulgrew. And from memory, I think that is a similar spell under Stuart King, and he was kind of scratching his head, saying, trying to figure out why they were picking up points away from home and maybe not doing so at Taylor's Avenue. It does happen at the sides. I think Linfield had the best away record last season, and very regularly do have the best away record, can grind out results, but it's certainly at home that they picked up more points this season. Only Glenavon have scored fewer away goals. Here's Carrick on the attack again. It's been a really good 10 minutes or so for Stephen Baxter's side. Here's Steele. Crow lets it run, and Fitzpatrick can't manage to win it back. Place. Gibson up ahead of him. Place decides to go back to Billy Joe Burns, who drifts past Yates.
Yeah, Carrick really penning Linfield back in here. Linfield just can't seem to get out there. Even when they did manage to turn the possession over there, they give it straight back to Carrick again, and it's just been all Carrick pressure in the last number of minutes.
Place. Easy defended by Hall. Bear wins a free kick.
Yeah, I'd like to see that one again. I didn't think there was a lot in that one. Looked to be a good enough tackle from Joe Crow on Isaac Burry. Maybe just comes through the back of him there.
McCullough. Opportunity to try and build it from the back. Linfield do have the second best defensive record in the league. Won their last 2 after those 3 straight defeats over Christmas. Lost to Coleraine, Glentoran, and also bottom side Glenavon during that spell. McCullough's going to wind up for the long throw, and there's not a great deal of space around the pitch. Yes, he goes short. I was going to say, it's not like there's a lot of room to try and wind up and go long towards that near post area. Once more he decides to go short to Mulgrew. He decides to play it in. Another dangerous ball. Another corner kick, I think it's going to be. Once more, it was McCullough who dealt with it.
Yeah, it's a great ball in from Jimmy Mulgrew. Just finds a little bit of space. The curling ball inside, and it's Fitzpatrick going for it, and Luke McCullough does really well to defend it.
And it'll be a welcome corner kick for Linfield, having soaked up a little bit of pressure. It's not as if Chris Johns has had a save to make so far, but they will have wanted to be operating very much in this area of the pitch. McCullough. Beats everyone. There are a few half-hearted appeals for handball against McGee. I think there were some big shouts for a handball on Saturday from the Bangor contingent. Heatley Just doing Paul Heatley things. That's exactly the point you were making early on. It's fall no this time for McLean instead. I think it was Mulgrew who ended up dispossessing him.
Yeah, it was a lovely little race between the two stalwarts we talked about earlier, Mulgrew and Paul Heatley. And as I said before, Paul Heatley still has that bit of pace. He's never really lost it, even at 38. He's just got that little injection of pace, and we saw it again there. But credit to Jamie Mulgrew, stuck to his task, and you know, he ended up winning the ball back.
Had that spell when he retired for a while, Paul Heatley.
Yeah, I couldn't believe he retired. Obviously, I think at the time he maybe cited family reasons and young family and stuff, which we understand. But as I said, he's just had such an appetite for the game. I always expected he would come back, you know, given the condition that he's in for his age.
And it was really at Carrick Rangers that he made his name. Was it other clubs growing up? I think I had a spell at Brantwood as well. Then it was Carrick Rangers where he burst onto the scene before the switch to Seaview, and all the success there.
You think about the partnership he would have had with Jordan Owens during that time at Crusaders. You know, the amount of goals that Big Jordan would have created for Paul Heatley, and that sort of partnership that they created over those years, and real golden years for Crusaders. And you know, he was a fantastic servant to them, was Paul Heatley, and you know, he's done well in his second spell at Carrick as well.
Nice turn from Steele. Gibson can't quite hold on to it. Joshua Archer clearly fouled. There were 3 players having a little nibble at Archer.
Yeah, it's a real battle around the middle of the park, isn't it? It's a bit scrappy in there, and
which is something you don't tend to see in modern football.
No, and sometimes it's welcome. You don't mind seeing that. You know, there's little, you know, battles starting to come to the head in the middle of the park. It's a little bit scrappy. There's tackles flying in. Sometimes we don't mind seeing that. So sometimes whoever wins that battle, you know, could end up coming out on top in this game.
I know there haven't been too many goal-scoring chances, but it feels like a decent game. There's a little bit to it. There's a wee bit of bite.
A little bit of an edge to it. As I say, there's been a few tackles flying in. I think Adam Leckie's looked lively. Fitzpatrick for Linfield, he's going to be their main man. So, you know, hopefully we see a few more opportunities created.
Ball ricochets off a couple of players and eventually ends up with that Baird. Deflected over the top. Fitzpatrick close to it.
Isaac Baird does well. He's got forward in that little channel a few times in this first half. We see him there. He just gets into a nice little area, takes on his man, looking to put the ball across, and Fitzpatrick just can't keep it on target. But again, you mentioned before, Fitzpatrick, he's the key man for Linfield. You read out some of his stats earlier on. He's so important for Linfield.
Well, we've mentioned that the league games taking place tonight. There are also a couple of Irish Cup games still scoreless between Glenavon and Newington. Jack Scott, who had been on loan at Carrick Rangers, was actually joint top scorer, has given Portadown a 1-0 advantage against Anna. A goal in his debut, scoreless between Ballymallard United and Institute. And it's a little bit later for the kick-off between Warrenpoint Town and Lisburn Distillery. There's been a goal as well at the Oval. It's fallen to Larne. Paul O'Neill scoring from the spot against his former club. 1-1 between Ballymena United and Cliftonville. Rotowski's penalty giving Ballymena United the lead. Hawthorne's header levelling it up. All of that action available on the BBC Sport Northern Ireland website in terms of the score lines and any video content we have from those matches. Newington have actually just taken a 1-0 lead against Glenavon. Thanks to Darren Stewart. Stephen Baxter in full discussion with the fourth official.
Yeah, there was a foul on Adam Leckie just earlier there when you were going through the scores, Thomas, and I think Stephen's telling him I've been in that position. I knew it was definitely a foul.
Yeah, our microphones were picking up. I was a centre forward. I've done it. It was brilliant. You don't get that in the Premier League, do you?
Dan Hall's took a nasty one here.
Oh yeah, he's down on the ground, certainly concerned straight away. And you can see Billy Joe Burns on the other ones. Yeah, that's what it looks like. Concerned straight away after he won the aerial duel. And the medical team are obviously going to have to get that cleaned up. Here's another look at it. Is it the arm of Leckie?
Yeah, it looks like a trailing arm from Adam Leckie. It was just, you know, there's a little battle going on between those two, and the earlier foul was between those two, the one that Stephen was arguing about, and certainly looks like Leckie's caught him there with the arm. Looks like a painful one for Hall. David Healy's concerned. He's asking the question.
Well, yeah, a moment ago it was Stephen Baxter. Clearly David Healy's asking the question there, and you can see what he thinks. You can see both medical teams out.
Yeah, this could be a difficult one for Ben Hall to return from here. Looks like a bad cut that he's taken.
1-1. Daniel Larmour has equalised for Glentoran. Level at the Oval in that huge game. Larne top, Glentoran in third. Ben Hall still receiving attention here. Haven't been too many opportunities so far in this game. I just bringing up to date with all of those score lines again. Newington 1-0 up against Glenavon in the 5th round of the Irish Cup. That game obviously postponed on Saturday. Stewart with a goal that separates the teams. Jack Scott with a goal for Portadown. They lead near neighbours Anna 1-0. In the cup game, scoreless between Ballinamallard and Institute. Lisburn Distillery 1-up against Warrenpoint Town. In the league, it's 1 apiece between Ballymena United and Cliftonville. Bortowski's penalty giving Ballymena United the lead before Keeveen Hawthorne's header brought it level. And it's 1 apiece as well, as I've just mentioned, between Glentoran and Lauren. David Healy still trying to get his point across. And as a referee, is the referee going to take action here? Has he got a card out? Obviously, officials wait until the injured player's back on his feet, but he's very close to Ben Hall. There's plenty of bandage going on there. And obviously the protocol to make sure that he is okay to continue. Hall still receiving treatment.
The Linfield medical staff just making sure that he's fully okay. Obviously the cut was there, but you know, got to be really careful with head injuries.
Linfield against Larne on Friday night. Hall is going to obviously have to change his shirt. Coming off the pitch, it looks like he is going to be okay to continue.
Yeah, that's good news for Linfield. You know, it looked like a bad one when we first saw it there. You know, by all accounts, it looks like he's caught him heavily with the elbow.
Should there have been a card?
It's one of those ones. If the referee's seen it, yeah, there should be. If it's the arm's up and it's dangerous.
Fitzpatrick plays it back to the edge of the box. Picked up by Snoddy off. Heatley goes again. Heatley's continued his run, gets in behind Archer. Paul Heatley goes down right on the edge of the area. He wants a penalty. Referee's given the free kick. It looked very, very close. Tim Marshall, of course, is going to speak with his assistants. Do you think it was outside?
I think it was. It looked as if to me at first feeling it was just on the line. For me,
it's a red for Archer, so he's off. Joshua Archer deemed to be the last man.
Yeah, you could see the Carrick players, you know, surrounding the referee and making that point that he was the last man. Whether or not it was inside or outside is a big question, but it's great play from Carrick. It's a lovely little give and go from Heatley. We talked about his pace. He gets into an area. There's the little pullback from Archer. There's players around Joshua Archer there.
Ewan East is there.
Yeah, for me that's a harsh one. That really is, when you see those covering players there.
And that's probably the point that he's making. It's difficult to tell from that particular angle, but you can see Ewan East there who could get across. So clearly the referee has decided to show a red. Linfield are down to 10, and Joe Crow has an opportunity just outside the penalty area.
I think looking at the replay there again, it was outside. The foul looked to be outside, and when we seen the replay, but certainly it also looks as if there was covering players.
Crow. The Linfield wall, waiting to push out, straight at the wall. Billy Joe Burns then fired it goalwards, and Chris Johns casually watched it go past. Judging by Joe Crow's reaction, he felt that was a decent effort. I'm not sure if he was appealing for something there, but he had his head in his hands as soon as he hit it. This is the red card. Heatley cutting inside, and
yeah, East looks as if he's covering, but I can see that if Archer doesn't foul Heatley there, he's probably going to get a shot away on goal scoring opportunity. So it's a real tough one for the referee to call there. You know, was East close enough to close Heatley down? For me, Heatley looks as if he's just got enough time and space to get a shot away there, and perhaps that's the way the referee's seen it.
So Linfield down to 10. With 10 minutes of this first half remaining, and you'd expect quite a bit of injury time after the injury to Ben Hall. Can the home side make their numerical advantage pay? McLean. Yates goes down following the challenge from Gibson, and now it's the Linfield supporters screaming for cards.
Certainly a busy few minutes for the referee, isn't it? You see it there.
Referee's very close to it.
Yeah, he's close to it. I think it's always going to be a foul from there.
McLean. Burns wins it in the air. Carrick Rangers have only won 2 of the last 25, I think, against Linfield, and they may not get a better chance than tonight against the 10 for about an hour of this game. Still scoreless. Baird. Does absolutely brilliantly before eventually going down. Referee comes across, and the question is, where did the foul first take place? Because you can see here, Baird does brilliantly,
yeah, he does
with no space at all to work with.
Yeah, I think the initial foul is definitely outside the box,
but does it continue into the box?
Yeah, it does, but I think the initial foul is outside the box. The referee's just looking for a little bit of help from his assistant there. He gets it in the end, and I think he's just about got that one right.
And is that a more difficult decision to make when you've just shown the other side a red card? Because, you know, every one of the travelling supporters is going to level it up.
Yeah, it is for the referee. And he's been under pressure now for the last 5 minutes or so. There's been a few big calls, you know, starting off with there was a potential elbow in there against Ben Hall, and then we had the potential penalty in the sending off, and now this decision.
McCullough looking towards that back post. It's headed goalwards and hacked away. think the initial effort was from Ethan McGee, who's waited a long time to score a goal. So many bodies in there. Apologies for any language picked up by our microphones. And even before the red, we said that we felt there was a little bit of an edge to this game, a bite that's just ramped up in the last 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, there really is. Both players have been incensed by some of the decisions over the last number of minutes, and you know, that's all making it, you know, it's created that little more of an edge and hopefully a better game.
Fitzpatrick, Yates, McLean trying to get onto that left foot and get a shot in, and you can see there's a little bit more urgency now from the champions trying to threaten that. Carrick Rangers back down. It's 2-0 Portadown now in that Irish Cup tie. Fitzpatrick has support from McCullough. Cross comes McGee, so he's going to go long. Fitzpatrick right in the edge of the 6-yard box. Fired in towards that area. Not for the first time. I think it was Snoddy back helping out. East. Linfield have certainly settled after being reduced to 10 men. Joshua Archer receiving his marching orders. This will give Carrick Rangers just a chance to reset a little bit. They've been playing without the ball for the last period of the game.
I think looking at both sets of players there, it's just a little bit of respite there because the last 10 minutes or so have been really frantic.
Absolutely. The whole game overall, Linfield started well. Carrick Rangers then got back and had a couple of half chances of their own, and then after that Hall injury came the red card. One whack by BBR. Here's Leckie. Heatley gets his head up and is trying to pick out Steele in the middle. Clearance is blocked. Mulgrew then tries to make headway. He's stopped by Steele. Heatley wins it back and finds Crow. McCullough, who's actually a cousin of Dane McCullough on the Linfield side. You can see the little bobble in the pitch as Place comes on to. Burns. Three and a half minutes to go until the half-time whistle, although you would expect quite a bit of stoppage time. Flicked on by Baird. McCullough doesn't want to take any chances. Time not to play it back to his goalkeeper, and instead concedes a throw-in. Still one apiece between Glentoran and Larne. 1-1 between Ballymena United and Cliftonville in the league. It's as you were in the Irish Cup. Newington ahead against Glenavon. Portadown 2 goals to the good, taking on Anna. Yates skids off the outside of his left foot. From Yates, who's been in decent goal-scoring form. Forced his way into the Linfield lineup, playing just behind Fitzpatrick in recent weeks.
Carrick just don't really deal with the ball there in the box. It falls for Yates, and Billy Joe Burns just gets back in and does enough to put him off, and it's a slice shot way off goal.
This could be a crucial time in the game. If either one was to score going in at half-time, it would be a massive boost to 10 men of Linfield. Struggling Carrick Rangers. Here's Hall with the bandage on his head. Fitzpatrick nods it off. Goalkeeper quickly off his line.
You can see what Linfield are trying to do there. Diagonal ball to Fitzpatrick, and I think it's Kyle McLean breaking from midfield to try and get up there and support him. And that's going to be important for Linfield, obviously being a man down, that when the ball does go up to Fitzpatrick, that they can try and get support to him.
Away by McGee, who didn't want to take any chances in his own penalty area. Now Place comes across, plenty of height in the Carrick Rangers lineup. You can see Joe Crow, Leckie, Gibson and McCullough. No shortage of bodies in the box for this one. Here is Leckie trying to get turned. I think it bounced off a defender and into the hands of Johns.
He's such a handful in there, Adam Leckie, with his height and his strength and his presence. I thought he maybe just could have hooked that one over his shoulder and put it into the box. Instead, he tried to bring it down and try the little flick. So, but he's causing problems in there, and he's been good in both boxes. When you think about the set pieces Linfield have had, he's been back in there and defending well for Carrick as well. And
that's something maybe that the strikers don't get credit for. When you think of the likes of Jordan Owens, who you mentioned earlier, he was brilliant at that. Glenn Ferguson
I was just as well. Spike was brilliant at it. He came back and he was always brilliant in both boxes. Aerially and defensively really good for their teams, which is a real bonus.
Here is Leckie trying to force a mistake at the back, picked up by Crow. Has a dig with his left foot. McCullough tries to sweep it towards Heatley. 6 minutes of additional time at the end of the 45 after that stoppage for the injury to Hall. Heatley with a nice bit of trickery, but it tricked everyone, including his teammates. Good turn from Steele. Options in the middle. There's the cutback. Can't find a teammate. It's a couple of times Carrick Rangers have got themselves in really good positions, but just haven't managed to click in the final third.
Yeah, they're getting into some nice little areas there. They're making the extra man count on a few occasions, but just when Steele gets in there, he's just got to be looking to get a better ball. The pitch almost beats him there as well. You see the little bobble on the pitch, on the surface, and he just can't get enough contact on it.
Steele lifted in again towards the near post area, but dealt with by Hall. It's probably the thing that will maybe frustrate Stephen Baxter, that for all of the good play that the Carrick Rangers have managed so far, they haven't had too many efforts on goal. Johns hasn't had a stop to make. It's not like they've gone close. It's been nearly efforts, and probably Linfield have looked slightly more dangerous.
Yeah, Linfield have had a couple of better attempts on goal, where they should have done better with, whereas Carrick haven't really tested Chris Johns, as you mentioned, Thomas, and it just backs up the stats that you gave earlier. The Carrick's low scoring at home, and it's continued here tonight, but they've got the extra man, and they've got to try and make that count.
Free kick not given. You can hear Stephen Baxter telling his players to deal with the ball. You don't need to mic up managers that in the Irish League. You tend to hear them and what their thought process is. Here's McGee. Yates has drifted across to the right-hand side, trying to get on that left foot. Ball in, doesn't beat the first man though, and it's Steele who gets in between a couple of Linfield players. Paul Heatley's trying to suggest that advantage could have been played, but referee with a smile on his face.
He's looked so sharp, Paul Heatley, hasn't he, in this first half on a number of occasions. I did mention he just it's unbelievable for someone his age. He still has that burst of pace, and you know, he's shown it on several occasions so far, and he's been a real threat.
Yeah, certainly on that right-hand side, that's when Carrick Rangers have looked at their best. Sorry, the left-hand side. Here's a ball in from the right, and Gibson.
Yeah, again, Gibson gets into a good area again, but just the final ball lets him down. And you know, Danny Gibson, as much as yes, he's played in that 4-3-3 on the right-hand side there, but he's probably better through the middle as an out-and-out centre forward. You know, he probably wants someone to be crossing that type of ball into him rather than the other way around.
State unable to link up with Heatley. Yeah, he's probably a natural 9 rather than
I think he is. He's being asked to play in that wide
player
area, and you know, on that occasion you see he's looking to put a ball into the box, and it's probably not really his quality.
It's probably also reflected that the goals he scored. He's another one of the players on 6 for the season, alongside Heatley and Jack Scott, who's now left the club and has actually been the score sheet for Portadown in that cup game against Anna. Snoddy, who we haven't spoken about a lot, but has been very industrious as always, picked up by State. He can't thread it through to Gibson.
Yeah, again, it's just the final pass again. It's letting both teams down at times.
Mulgrew. Place flies in.
I think they've got to be so sure, certainly on the surface. I've mentioned the surface, don't want to make too many excuses, but you can see it closer there. You know, can be difficult, and you know,
game on Saturday, game on Tuesday.
Yeah, and you know, the players have just got to be so sure of that pass and just really make it count.
We've had a red card in this game. There's also been a red card at the Oval. Ryan Cooney sent off before another former Glentoran Old Boy. Gallagher has restored Lawrence lead. So that's Chris Gallagher and Paul O'Neill. 2 players who burst onto the scene at Glentoran have come back to score at the Oval and give the league leaders that advantage as we approach half-time. Looping ball, asking far too much of Leckie. Still 1-0 Newington against Glenavon. Stewart with a finish there. 2-0 Portadown. Scoreless between Ballymallard and Institute. 1 apiece in the tie between Warrenpoint Town and Lisburn Distillery. And goalless here as we enter the final minute of first half injury time. Burns still battling for everything. Is there one final opportunity? It's Billy Joe Burns, who hasn't been this far up the pitch in the first 50 minutes of the first half, and the cross is a poor one from the far side, and that may well be the final opportunity for either side to find a net in the first half at Taylor Avenue. The big talking point, of course, will be the sending off of Joshua Archer. Referee, I'm sure, will be having a glance at his watch as he brings the first half to a close. Referee's been a central figure in the opening 45 minutes. David Healy certainly wasn't happy with the challenge in Ben Hall just before Joshua Archer's red. He makes his way in towards the dressing room alongside his Linfield players and the Carrick Rangers squad. Neither of them able to find a net in the opening 45 minutes. The half-time score at Taylor's Avenue in this league tie. It is Carrick Rangers 0, Linfield 0.
Welcome back to the home side, Carrick Rangers.
Welcome back. Scoreless at the break between Carrick Rangers and Linfield. The big talking point in the first half, the dismissal of Joshua Archer. Straight red card for a challenge in Paul Heatley just after the half-hour mark, so Linfield down to 10. David Healy's side started the game well. A couple of half chances, and then it was Carrick Rangers who turned the screw after that. Don't think there have been any changes at all at the interval as Matthew Snoddy gets ready to get the second half underway. Run through of the other games taking place this evening. One apiece between Ballymena United and Cliftonville. Both the goals coming early on in that tie at the showgrounds. Rakowski's penalty, Hawthorn's equaliser. Scoreless in this game, and Larne 2-1 up against Glentoran. Paul O'Neill giving the league leaders the lead from the spot before Daniel Larmer equalised. Ryan Cooney was then sent off, and Chris Gallagher restored Larne's lead. 1-0 Newington against Glenavon, the bottom side in the cup. I'll keep you across the rest of the games as Carrick Rangers go on the attack. Big chance for Heatley. Huge opportunity, the best that Carrick Rangers have managed so far in the opening 30 seconds of the second half, Paul.
Yeah, we mentioned that, you know, the first half the balls into the box in the final third weren't really good enough. That was a really good ball into the box. Give Heatley something to go and attack, and he'll be disappointed he hasn't hit the target there. Could have been a great start to the second half for Carrick.
Certainly would have been. He was the player who was fouled by Joshua Archer that led to the red. Appeals for a handball against Baird. Crow switches it across to the right-hand side place. Here's Baird again. 2-0 for Portadown against Anna in that derby game in the 5th round of the Irish Cup. Scoreless in the encounter between Ballymallard and Institute. One apiece between Warrenpoint Town and Lisburn Distillery. Check out the BBC Sport Northern Ireland website for all the latest in those games. Crow didn't quite have enough on it.
I think he's just got to go and play to the right fullback there on that occasion. Joe Crow. He goes for the difficult pass.
There will certainly be plenty of belief inside the Carrick Rangers dressing room after that opening 45 minutes, but Linfield try and switch it towards McCullough. You can see the bandage in the head of Ben Hall. That caused frustration for David Healy, who felt that there should have been further action taken after the challenge from Lecky, which led to that wound on Hall's head. Linfield want a free kick. Referee shakes his head.
I think he was right there. I don't think there was any contact there.
Big 45 minutes for both these sides.
Yeah, I think, you know, Carrick, that'll give him a real boost, that chance from Heatley early on in this second half, and we've got into another good area here.
Look at the players who committed forward to this attack. Trying to stop Baird high up the pitch. It's eventually a foul from Heatley. And Linfield move it quickly again, looking for Fitzpatrick, just a one in the middle.
Looking for that early ball into the channel for Fitzpatrick, and it's just overhead. And I think that's, I mentioned in the first half, it's really important that the ball up to Fitzpatrick. It's got to be better quality, be of better quality, and then that allows him to hold it up and bring people into play, because he's looked isolated at times in this game, and obviously Linfield being down to 10, it's even more difficult now.
It's probably Yates who's playing closest to him. It was Charlie Allen at the weekend. Allen is on the bench alongside the likes of Callum Morrison, Sam Taylor and Chris McKee as well. So David Healy does have attacking options available to him. Side of a free kick now.
Yates will be the one that, yeah, as you say, closest to him, trying to get up and support. And he's also got a job to do on the other side of the game. You know, with Linfield being down to 10, he's got to think about his defensive role in the team too. So important for him in the second half. But as you say, Linfield do have options off the bench as well. And just that man Fitzpatrick, he's so important for them and can be in the second half if they're going to get anything.
Eventually left for Chris Johns, and everyone's been sent up for this free kick. David Healy in the edge of his technical areas. It's lifted in. Easily dealt with though by Leckie. Picked up by Mulgrew. Gibson gets a toe to it, and here come Carrick. It's a lax pass from Leckie. Punched upon by Fitzpatrick now, and there are plenty of blue shirts forward from that previous set piece, and the pitch doesn't do McCullough any favours. Jamie McGrew is going to be is he going to be spoken to? I'm not sure. He's certainly been
I think it's Mikey plays. He's trying to take the throw, and McGrew just gives him a little nudge. There you go.
No additional action taken by Tim Marshall. Hall gets it away. It's been a decent game so far. I referred to it in the first half, but Johns or Pingelly having to stop to make the best chance, probably falling to Heatley in the opening few seconds of the second half. Linfield had a couple of half opportunities in the first half. Fitzpatrick put it over the top. They had dangerous balls into the 6-yard box, but that Heatley chance, the best of the bunch so far.
Yeah, the Heatley chance was a big chance. I would say it was the one really good ball that we've seen put into the box, and you know, Heatley attacks it, and he'll be disappointed that he didn't at least hit the target and work the goalkeeper.
It's Place who goes down this time after wrestling with Fitzpatrick. Free kick and nothing else, according to the officials. Leckie the target. Heatley nods it out to the left-hand side. It's a good run being made by Snoddy. Buchanan Rulison putting pressure on, trying to force his way goalwards, and has it back once more. Good perseverance from him. And eventually it's put in by Crow. Leckie. Crow, very scrappy, but
yeah, that's the type of game Joe Crow's going to love her. He is in the thick of it again.
Challenges flying in. McLean picks it up and tries to lift it over the top, but McCullough's there. It's going to be a dogfight, a battle, if you like, for the next 40 minutes, you feel.
It's a real battle, certainly in that middle part of the pitch there, as we said, Thomas. The ball just breaking in there and tackles going in, and
a lot of personal tussles in there too. When you look at the head-to-heads, it's old school, if you like, around that area. And obviously Linfield down to 10. That last exchange probably reflected it. Hasn't maybe been one for the purists so far, but referee happy enough to let that last exchange go. Here's Leckie. Can't get anything on it. Hammered clear by McCullough.
I think Linfield maybe looking for the foul there. Leckie looks as if he's leaning down on one of the players with two hands on him.
You mentioned it already, but he's been a real focal point.
Yeah, he has been, and that you know, that's what Stephen Baxter brought him to Carrick for. He knows him from his time at Crusaders.
Here he is, nods it on. Heatley, who he also knows, did that come off a hand? Peels for a handball, driven back. Oh, and Steele didn't gamble. Nothing was given. And certainly from our camera shot, it appeared that struck the arm of Paul Heatley just as this throw comes in.
Yeah, we'll see it here. The ball comes in again. It's Leckie with a little flick on. The ball comes out to Paul Heatley. You'll see it's a little handball. There it is. With his right hand, just trying to pop the ball down into place. And if Carrick get on the end of that and put it in the net, the Linfield are going to go berserk because the referee hasn't seen it.
Again, it was Lecky causing problems, and Heatley just wanted the ball to come down.
Yeah, Lecky causing all sorts of problems. We mentioned Heatley and the threat that he's shown in this game. Lecky has been so good as well, and he's been a real handful for Linfield.
Heatley slips. Every single throw-in now being debated. I think there's going to be movement. You can see the board out from that camera shot. Can't quite see if any substitutes are warming up right now. Picked up by Snoddy. Heatley seems to be central to everything good from Carrick Rangers' point of view. Place. De Croo. You see the surface cutting up more and more as the game progresses. Billy Joe Burns then plays it in towards Lecky. Certainly you would say it's Carrick Rangers' best period of the game. Buchanan rolls it. Another dangerous ball in. Who's it going to fall to? Aidan Steele wasn't far away.
It was a great ball in, wasn't it? I think it was McCulloch at the back post for Linfield. Great defender from him, but a super ball.
And there was almost a second bite of the cherry with Steele. I think the intended target initially was Gibson, and then on the follow-up, Steele was unfortunate. And Linfield are living dangerously at the back.
Yeah, they are, and you know, you can see that tactic from Carrick, that long ball up to Lecky, and then they're looking for the pieces off him, and on that occasion when they get into the final third, it's a much better ball, which almost creates a chance. And
obviously with the numerical advantage that Carrick Rangers have, you can't let someone try and maybe sit back like you normally would in a situation like that and try and stop the influence of Lecky as Steele goes down. No free kick given this time.
Probably over-exaggerates it. Steele, and the referee doesn't seem to buy it.
Poor pass from Crow this time. Bear. Fitzpatrick up ahead. Linfield trying to get in the Carrick final third. Billy Joe Burns in. Gives it away. One back, and how many times has that happened? It's been scrappy, but not in the normal way. It's
yeah, I think Linfield, when they do get possession of the ball, they've got to try and keep it better. You know, they're giving the ball away really quickly. They've no real outlet at this moment in time.
There's a chance, a moment to go.
Yeah, it's a super ball into the box. It's Danny Gibson looking to get in the back post, and McCulloch sticks with him the whole way and clears the danger. Really good defending.
Morrison comes on for Yates, and that's probably to try and stop what we were referring to a moment ago with Fitzpatrick being increasingly isolated. Morrison, Linfield's second top scorer, but the majority of his goals have come in cup competitions. Looking to make an impact just before the hour mark here. Fitzpatrick tries to link up with him straight away. Ushers out of play by BBR.
A player with, you know, that sort of direct style and a bit of pace about him. I said there just previously, you know, Linfield don't really have an outlet, and you know, he could be that man to sort of try and run into the channels and give him an outlet ball up alongside Fitzpatrick.
3-1 Larne now. Paul O'Neill with another one.
I said before the game, you know, that would be a statement result for Larne if it was to stay that way. You know, they're showing no let up, and obviously they've got the one-man advantage too, and defensively they're so strong. That's a big statement from them.
Paul O'Neill with a double, Chris Gallagher with the other goal, Daniel Larmer scoring for Glentoran to make it level at 1 apiece. Ballymena United have taken the lead. Rutowski with 2, 1 from the spot, 1 from open play. An Oran Kearney side lead against Cliftonville, 2-1, 1 apiece. Glenavon have equalised in the Irish Cup against Newington. Paul McGovern levelling things up, and Anna have pulled the goal back in that encounter against Portadown. 2-1 now at Shamrock Park as the tackles continue to fly in. Fitzpatrick on the ground this time. McCullough. It's a vital touch from Gibson, who wants it back. Bit more pace in this Carrick attack. Just behind Lecky. Steele was trying to get there, and again it's threatening from the home side.
It's good. It's a good break from it's brilliant play initially from Luke McCullough. The composure he shows out from the back, plays the pass, and then it's a little link up between Place and Gibson on the right hand side. But again, the final ball from Gibson just isn't able to pick out Adam Lecky. See it here, it's a nice link up on the right hand side. He's just looking to guide it into Adam Lecky, and it just goes behind him. But it's a dangerous break again from Carrick.
One apiece between Mournpoint Town and Lisburn Distillery in the Cup, and Institute have a 1-0 advantage against Ballymallard United. Still scoreless here. The only game of all of tonight's fixtures without a goal, as Linfield try and resolve that. Who's going to fall for it? It's Mulgrew who edges it forward. Mind the Carrick Rangers haven't won since Halloween night. Their last victory, sorry, they haven't won in the league since Halloween night. Their last victory in the league was 3 months ago, a win over Bangor. They shipped 7 goals against Glentoran in their last league encounter, and have only managed 10 so far this campaign. They're scoreless here against Linfield, a side that have struggled on the road themselves. Here's Heatley. Just opened up momentarily for him.
Yeah, again, it's a ball up the Lecky, and it's a nice little guided header down to Paul Heatley, and he thinks to himself, I'm going to try pot luck here from outside the...
With 10, how do you stop that? How do you stop the influence that Lecky's having?
Listen, he was having an influence even when it was 11. You know, he's just that we mentioned. He's just an important player, and he's such a handful there. So I think they've just got to try and get. It's the second ball. It's the ball after Lecky. Really, the Linfield need to be aware of. Heatley's looking sharp. Gibson's coming more into the game as well. But it's so difficult when they're down to 10. They're just having to work extra hard. Because
it's probably the area where you would normally sit a Mulgrew or an Archer or a McLean to try and subdue that influence of those knockdowns, but they've been so effective despite the fact that Carrick Rangers have been unable to score so far.
Yeah, and I think that the point too is that Lecky it's been real quality when the ball has come into him. The little layoffs, the little flick headers, and the touches around the box have been good quality from him, which has allowed players to get up and support him.
McGee plays it straight to McCullough, the Carrick Rangers captain for Manchester City player, sorry, Manchester United player. His Place, twisting and turning. By the time he got a shot in, it was half blocked before making its way into the hands of Johns.
Okay, when you see with that advantage and the numerical advantage, those fullbacks looking to get forward as well for Carrick, and you know, at this moment in time, it's difficult for Linfield.
And I mentioned all of those attacking potentials that Linfield have on the bench. It's a tricky night to try and bring on one of those players to influence a match like this.
It is, and you know, I think Linfield will just be hoping that they can stay in the game. It's still 0-0, and they can maybe try and force something from a set piece or, you know, a counter attack. You know, so far they've had very little in the second half.
They do tend to find a way though at Taylor's Avenue. Remember a couple of years ago they were level up until the last 10 minutes and found a couple of goals on that occasion. Nathan McGee's almost in amongst the Linfield supporters there, trying to generate enough power to find Hall. He gets the first flick on, Fitzpatrick was certainly wrestling with, I think it was Joe Crow, didn't appeal for anything, the striker, but it did cause problems when that ball was hurled into the middle.
It's a dangerous long throw into the box from Ethan McGee, and you see it there, Joe Crow. They say you always get touch tight to your marker. He was certainly touch tight there.
Lecky comes a little bit deeper this time. Place, who's fitted into that Carrick Rangers backline well.
I've been impressed with Carrick in stages in this game. Thomas, you talk about the form at their end and the 7-0 defeat by Glentoran. I know they had several players injured on that day as well, and a young goalkeeper as well. But certainly on tonight's showing, the times have really impressed. And yes, they have the one-man advantage, but there were spells when it was 11v11. They did look the better team, let's just say, in that first half as well. And
without being patronising, they don't look like a team that should be on a run that they're on, and they don't look like a team that have found it really, really difficult to score, albeit that they've yet to find a net this evening. They've certainly created a lot, and they've got a lot of players who've the potential to find that moment of magic. That will be the frustrating thing for Stephen, and they've certainly shown lots of endeavour, and they've worked tirelessly, and they look as if they're really up for it. Heatley, it just looked like it was going to open up for him. First time ball in, comes off the head of one of the Linfield defenders. Place. De Crow showed too much of it to the opposition player, then goes down, looks longingly at the referee, who was having none of it. Here's McCullough. That's a great ball. Gibson decided to try and go for a par himself, even though he had Crow outside him. Look how deep Fitzpatrick's having to come to get on the ball. Usually the outball him, and Billy Joe Burns steps in front of. See, Fitzpatrick does so well there, but oh, there's a problem here for, I think it's Place. He's rolling around. It's a yellow from the tackle. Morrison's been shown, but Place straight away was rolling around in pain. Just off camera here. Oh yeah, it's a nasty one from Morrison. It really is. He catches him high up on the leg there. He considered himself to be lucky enough there. And again, the referee was close to it, so he had a decent view of it, it seemed. Yeah, I think it's frustration from Morrison. Fitzpatrick's done brilliant there. Look, to retain possession of the ball, and Morrison's come in and give it away, and for me it's frustration from him when he's come in, and that's a sore one there. Lecky wins it again. Fitzpatrick's actually the one back helping out from those set pieces. $22.5 minutes left of the 90. Linfield have played a lot of this game with 10. Lecky flicks it on. Heatley gambled in behind, and that was a vital interception. Carrick are just going route one. They feel that is going to be the way they're going to find a breakthrough. Yeah, they're getting a lot of joy. Obviously, Lecky, he's winning everything at this moment in time. He's on top of his game. He's causing Linfield all sorts of problems. That long ball, we see it here from the goalkeeper. He wins the little flick, and then he gets those willing runners, Gibson and Heatley, playing off him and looking to get on the end of it. McCullough, Dean that is, gets there just ahead of his cousin Luke, and Heatley goes all the way back to Pengelly, who I would mention again hasn't had anything to do so far. Neither is Johnso. That could change now, though, as it's picked up by Morrison. It's a bit too casual at the back from Carrick Rangers' point of view. Fitzpatrick was in the middle, and it was an outstretched leg, I think, from Luke McCullough that took it out of his path. Yeah, Joe Crow's arguing with the assistant there and the referee, and to keep the game still going. He's got to just play to the whistle.
that was an opportunity there for Linfield.
And you feel it's going to be one of those nights when opportunities may well be at a premium. Fitzpatrick picks out Mulgrew. More blue shirts in this attack than on previous occasions, and they've won their side. A corner kick, and the likes of Hall and McGee will start to make their way forward.
Yeah, this is where Linfield have, you know, got to try and create something from this set piece. You know, they've had very little to talk about in this second half, and you know, it's all about a solid delivery here, and probably keep the ball away from Leckie, because he's won everything in both boxes.
That's the intention. Danger still not away, but cleared by Steele. Picked up by Heatley. Brought down by Mulgrew. That's going to be another card. Yellow for Mulgrew. And it was a challenge you had to make.
Yeah, it's vintage Paul Heatley. The ball just breaks at the edge of the box, and he just gets that little touch away from Mulgrew. And I think Jamie realises that, you know, Paul Heatley has him for pace, which he would have on most people, and he's no choice but to foul him there and take the yellow card.
McCullough cushioned down by Leckie despite the protests of handball. He's been forced back to his goalkeeper though. Good pressure up the pitch from Linfield. McCullough.
That's great pressure from Jamie Mulgrew there. You know, we talked about Heatley for his age and the energy that he shows. You know, Mulgrew there, just, you know, pressing. He's the first man pressing there. Leading by example as normal.
Bear can't quite get there, but just even in the last couple of minutes, there's been a little bit more adventure from a Linfield point of view. What a game at Anna. Anna, I think, equalised to make it 2-2. It's now Portadown 3, Anna 2 in that fifth round Irish Cup game. One apiece between Glenavon and Newington. Institute 2-0 up against Ballinamalard. 2 goals from Lynch, and Warrenpoint Town lead Lisburn Distillery 2-1. Still as you were in the league games, 2-1 to Ballymena United against Cliftonville. And the table toppers Larne 3-1 up and a man up at the Oval against Glentoran. Stay up to date with all of those games on the BBC Sport Northern Ireland website. McCullough, outstretched leg. Cross comes Heatley. Mulgrew now. McLean. Morrison certainly seems to be up helping Fitzpatrick more. That's Hall with the bandage on. He's continued his run into the middle. Bird tries to get the cross in. It's going to be another corner kick.
Yeah, it's Linfield's best spell of the second half. You know, better territory from them, putting Carrick on the back foot for the first real time in the second half. Carrick just put so much into the first part of the second half, and they just look as if they've tired a little bit in the last few minutes, and Linfield have took advantage of that. They've managed to get their foot in the ball, you know, build the play up better, and, you know, forced a few set pieces.
Can they find a goal despite that sending off in the first half? It was McGee again who's gotten a couple of set pieces, but once more Pengelly untroubled.
It's a deep ball right to the back post. Very difficult one for McGee to try and control from there. But again, it's a lot better from Linfield.
Long way to go, but as things stand, Larne are going to 55 points with a game in hand against Coleraine in 45. Glentoran on 43 points as things stand, and Linfield will go on to 39. It's going to be very, very tough to catch Gary Hervern's side if they continue that form.
They're in tremendous form, aren't they? And we mentioned, you know, defensively they're so solid. At home, they're so good, and you know they've still got players like Randall, Andy Rance just coming back into the team, and you know a young player like Dylan Sloan still to come back in. You know, they haven't done any business in January so far because you know they've still got.
Ben's been injured, another one who's been out for a while.
Yeah.
I think there's.
So they've got
another
quality
midfielder
players.
just that was injured for the Malt under 21, so they kind of feel like new signings this window.
They will. They've got quality players to come back in, you know, and they're really on top form at this moment in time. You know, if things stay like that at the Oval.
Yeah, but there's a long way to go, not just in tonight's games, but also over the course of a season. Plenty of twists and turns remaining in the race for the Gibson Cup that is currently in the possession of the team in blue tonight, Linfield. Here's Crow. Heatley. Cut out by Mulgrew. We identified it early on, but those two seem to be having a personal battle tonight.
Yeah, those two have been brilliant. Really enjoyed watching both of them performances tonight.
Which one's going to be happier at the end of the 90, though? Isaac Bird manages to nip in between Snoddy and Buchanan Rowlandson. Heatley once more puts it through the legs of Mulgrew. BBR in low. Who's it going to fall to? It's a Carrick player on the edge of the box. First effort's blocked. Second one is a team effort that is easily gathered by Chris Johns. Again, good build-up play, but no end product.
Yeah, Heatley involved in the initial build-up again, and ball into the box. Linfield just failed to clear it. It falls to the edge of the box, and it falls lovely then for Gibson on the edge, and he's got to be looking to just bend that into the far corner. He just doesn't get enough on it, and it's a team effort in the end.
I think it was placed with the initial effort. He'd be a little bit disappointed with it because it was falling beautifully for him just in the edge of the area. Murphy looking to push back McGee by a couple of feet. Chris McKee, his fellow teammate, is actually just in front of him. Looks like he's going to be coming on as it goes in long. Hall trying to make spaces. Again, it looks like it's going to fall for Heatley. It's a 2v1. Paul Heatley plays it in first time, can't lift it past McCullough. Another sign of just how dangerous the home side have been on the counter-attack, and in particular that man Paul Heatley.
Yeah, again you see it here, the little touch away from the defender, that pace. It's vintage Paul Heatley. He's looking to play the early ball, but you know, credit to McCullough, he gets himself into a really good position and clears the danger there.
And it's a moment to gather breath into the final quarter of an hour. There's the movement. It's a looping ball towards the back post, won initially by McCullough. Nobody could get on the end of it though. Larne have got a fourth. Tomas Cosgrove looks to have wrapped up all the points in that game. Glentoran 1, Larne 4. Ryan Cooney sent off for the home side. Chris McKee for Isaac Bird, I think, is a change. Newington have regained their lead against bottom side Glenavon in the 5th round of the Irish Cup, but still Portadown 3 and a 2. Cracking game there. 2-0 Institute away from home against Ballinamallard United, and a Warren Point 3, Lisburn Distillery 2. That was an 8 o'clock kickoff in that one. Ballymena United still 2-1 up against Cliftonville as McLean's challenged. Decision goes against BBR.
Yeah, no doubt about that one.
Certainly plenty of bodies around. McLean did well doing the free kick.
Again, it's another good opportunity for Linfield.
And this is where where Carrick Rangers have looked vulnerable.
Yeah, you know, they've had so much, you know, they've dominated large spells of the game. They've looked more likely in terms of their play, but, you know, Linfield, you would never back against them. And this is another opportunity for them.
Two in the Carrick Rangers wall, everyone up from the back. McCullough is going to be given the responsibility to take the set piece. Again, it's Leckie, but this time he can only concede the corner kick.
Yeah, if anything, they want to be keeping the ball away from Leckie. We've talked about it throughout the game. He's been so dominant in the air.
Another tester now, though. Goalkeeper this time gets a touch on it. Back in once more by East. Morrison fires it goalwards. Some half-hearted penalty appeals, plenty still forward in blue. Morrison lifts it in once more, skids off the head of Crowe. Fitzpatrick trying to get turned.
Good pressure from Linfield, isn't it? You know, Carrick haven't put so much into this game, and now find themselves just hanging on a little bit in the last few minutes.
I wonder, will Stephen Baxter be considering changes? Again, McGee's asked her to retreat a couple of yards. Morrison loses out the place. Again, it was Gibson that time, and spoke about in the first half that he's probably a more natural nine. He's gone through a lot of work tonight.
Yeah, he's having to track back in that area of the field, you know, in that wide area, whereas as a centre forward he maybe wouldn't have to do as much work as that, but he certainly put a shift in for the team.
Steele lifts it forward. Carrick Rangers player trying to get him behind. Chris Johns was aware of that danger and wasn't taking any chances.
Yeah, again, it was that man Gibson bearing down on him, and you know, we mentioned the shift that he's put in, and you know, you have to be really fit to be able to do that, to play that role, and he's certainly shown great fitness levels.
And suddenly now it's Carrick trying to slow things down, if you like, having soaked up all that pressure. Snoddy. Don't think Place appreciated that pass from Snoddy, but it's picked up by the midfielder once more, who has been very effective since leaving Mourneview. Matthew Snoddy. Here's Steele trying to make the run through the middle. Been a virtual ever presence so far this season for Carrick Rangers, linking up with his former boss, of course, and Crusaders.
You talk about players putting in a shift, or he's one that just goes about his business quietly, and he's so effective for the team, and that's why when he's fit, he ordinarily always plays for Carrick. And you know, I was surprised when Glenn haven't let him go, I have to be honest.
Here he is right now. Nicely disguised past it. Fine Crowe. McCullough. Another tester, flags up. And when you talk about Snoddy quietly going about his business, he's done that throughout his career. When you look at some of his teammates, he's had so much success. He's played so many games, but he went through a lot of dirty work down through the years around that midfield area. Very much appreciated by his teammates, but brilliant career. Yeah,
he's a fit lad, and he's a good kid as well. And you say he gets through all that sort of dirty work in the middle of the park.
Carrick Rangers players using their bodies well in the edge of the area. Nobody wanted to take a chance as Leckie takes a tumble. Referee says no free kick, and straight away he looks for Gibson. East does well because there are two in the middle for Carrick Rangers. Everyone had stopped, almost expecting the free kick to be given for the challenge on Leckie, and again it was a difficult one for Linfield to deal with. Just from this point, it's 3-on-3 momentarily.
Yeah, it is. Paul Heatley's looking to play the early ball. He does get it over East's head, but East recovers really well. You know, gathers the ball off Danny Gibson and plays a nice pass. So good defending from you and East, but again, Carrick looking dangerous.
If you're just joining us, the big talking points in this game all came in the first half. Linfield furious with a challenge on Ben Hall, and soon after Joshua Archer was shown a red for bringing down Heatley just on the edge of the box. Joe Gormley's equalised for Cliftonville. 2-2 between Jimmy Gilton's side and Ballymena United. Here's Steele. Places. Ball in. Oh, super stop from Chris Johns. It was Steele's effort on goal. I think the flag was up anyway and it wasn't going to count. But Chris Johns didn't know that.
No, it's a brilliant save from Johns. It's a lovely ball in from place. We see it here, and it's a little scissor kick from Steele, and it's a fantastic save from Chris Johns down to his left-hand side, strong hand on it.
I actually think it wasn't Steele who was offside. It was
Gibson.
maybe Gibson in the follow-up, so it would have counted.
Yeah, it's a fantastic save, certainly at this stage of the game as well. Such an important save.
What a stop from Chris Johns, who, as we've mentioned on countless occasions, hasn't had a great deal to do. Neither goalkeeper has, but when called upon, that's why Linfield have rewarded him with a new extended contract.
Yeah, he's shown a great attitude. He was out of favour last season, if you remember, with David Walsh, but he's got the head down. He's worked hard and he's got his place back, and he's shown there the quality that he has.
Game really opening up now. McCullough, Heatley, flag stays down again. Still Heatley, almost goading McGee into making the challenge there, but he stood tall, Ethan McGee. Steele, who had that chance a moment ago. I'm sure he can't believe he hasn't given Carrick Rangers the lead as it loops over the top from Gibson at that back post area. Into the final 5.
Nice little piece of play on the left-hand side from Steele again, and Danny Gibson's just he's going for goal there, and perhaps and I actually could hear Stephen Baxter on the microphone there. He's saying just head it back, which is probably the better option.
Cross comes Billy Joe Burns. Another fine shift being put in by a player who won 3 league titles at Seaview and 3 at Windsor. Buchanan Rawlinson. McLean penalised for the challenge and Snoddy. Institute safely through the next round of the Irish Cup. They've defeated Ballinamallard United 2-0, 3-3 in the game between Warrenpoint and Distillery, and that looked like it was going to be Paul Heatley's moment.
Yeah, and again, it was that connection. It was the ball up to Adam Leckie. It's an unbelievable little cushion header down to Heatley. We'll see it here in the replay. Lovely little ball. Nice little header from Adam Leckie, and Paul Heatley just sort of lashes at it a little bit. He's got to let it come down a little bit further. And it's way off the target, but that's a good opportunity for a player like Paul Heatley. 9 times out of 10 you expect that to be hitting the net.
Newington, a side that have created so many cup upsets down through the years. 2-1 up against Glenavon. Portadown still edging it against Annie United in that derby game. 3-2 in that encounter for Niall Curry's side. Steele, one back by McGee, charges forward. Really good ball in, still not dealt with, and eventually out for a corner. There was real intent there from Ethan McGee.
Yeah, it's a dangerous ball in from McGee, and I think it's Billy Joe Burns just gets his head in on the front post, but we see it here. A lovely little run from McGee. It's into a good area. It's a really dangerous ball. Chris McKee looking to get on the end of it, but Billy Joe Burns does so well.
Corner kick, 2 minutes to go of normal time. Leckie battling for it. Final touch is off Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, we've said it so many times. The ball has just been like a magnet to Adam Leckie, and you're sort of going to you're thinking Linfield, keep it away from him. Whoever he's picking up, take him away out of the way and try and find someone else in the box. But credit to Adam Leckie. He's had a really good game.
Here he is once more. How much time is going to be added on? That will certainly be the topic of discussion with the fourth official. We'll find out very soon. Crow. McCullough tries to find a teammate on the far side. Linfield have played a lot of the game with 10 men. They've had to dig deep. Here's McLean. Morrison, does he have the pace to get there? Tracked stride for stride by the left back. Injury time in some of the games taking place this evening. Back into the danger area. Heatley hacks it clear. Both sides still pushing for a winner. 2 additional minutes. Steele. Can he get there? Not quite. You can see the head and the hands of Paul Heatley and a couple of other Carrick Rangers players. They thought that was the moment.
2 minutes.
McCullough gets ahead of his man. Hammered forward by Billy Joe Burns. Gibson goes in chase. Good strength from him. Plays it in low. Bobble just ahead of Hall. This may well be the final opportunity. Everyone's coming forward. Stephen Baxter watching on. You suspect this is going to be the final opportunity of the game to threat. Crow plays it in. Gathered by Johns. Now Linfield might get a chance if they can shift it forward quickly. Johns doesn't waste any time. It's Heatley who's back. Nods it back to the goalkeeper in that unfamiliar position of full-back, and then just wants a little rest. You can understand why.
They've had a great battle all evening too, McGee and Heatley. They've come up against each other on numerous occasions, and Paul Heatley there tracking back in the injury time in this game, putting a brilliant header back to his goalkeeper, and he's had a superb game.
Good footwork from State. He's continued his run into the middle. Blocked by Ewan East. We've played almost all of a lot of injury time. The 2 minutes of injury time are now up. The referee is allowing this throw-in to take place, so everybody has made their way in towards the 6-yard box. It's cleared and it's finished 0-0 at Taylor's Avenue, and Paul, it wasn't a bad 0-0.
No, listen, you and I have commentated on a few shocking 0-0s recently, but that was actually an entertaining 0-0 for such a thing. Loads of endeavour, hard work from the players. It was a bit of a throwback game, blood and thunder, midfield battle, balls into the box. We had those talking points in the first half, so all in all there was plenty going on, and Carrick obviously with the one-man advantage looked the more likely, but both goalkeepers weren't really tested enough. Certainly Chris Johns made the one big save in the game. Paul Heatley had that great chance just after half-time, but other than that there were no real bigger chances in the game, and both teams go away with a point.
So Linfield move on to 39 points. They're 4 behind Glentoran, having played the same amount of games. Coleraine on 45 points, having played 2 additional fixtures to both of the Belfast clubs. Then it's Larne who further increased their advantage at the top of the table. They'll be on 55 points, 10 points clear of Coleraine with a game in hand against Rory Higgins' side. And of course play Linfield live in the BBC iPlayer on Friday night. And let's look back at probably the biggest talking point in this game, the first half red.
Yeah, it was great play from Paul Heatley. We've mentioned him all night. Lovely little give and go with Lecky. He cuts across his man, Josh Archer. The foul's outside the box. The question for the referee was, is Ewan East going to make the cover and challenge in time before Heatley gets a shot away? We see it here. For me, we've had a chance to look at it a few times now. Paul Heatley takes a heavy touch for me. You know, the referee's probably looking, going, is East close enough to make a challenge? He's deemed him not to be. He's given the red card, but you know, after looking at it again, Heatley takes a heavy touch, which makes you think that, you know, East might have got there for the cover and challenge. It's a really difficult one. The referee's got to make a call straight away, and he's made that red card, which made it a more difficult night for Linfield.
Thank you very much, Paul, for your thoughts throughout the evening. It's finished level at Taylor's Avenue. Both sides have to be content with a point apiece. It's finished Carrick Rangers 0, Linfield 0. Enjoy the rest of your evening.